Hello everyone, it's the Left-Handed Lady coming at you today with our January plan with me. We're going to say Happy New Year to 2021. Please be better than 2020, because this year has been some multiple bad words that I will not say to get demonetized. So we're going to go into this year with a Dreamcatcher theme. I was really feeling something whimsical to start out the new year, and I really liked this theme. I really liked the sketchy look of these feathers. So we're going to start in with our 3 blue Tombow brush pens that I picked out for this month, roughly sketching in the feathers on the Dreamcatcher for our January setup spread. Now, how I went about sketching out these feathers is I took my straight line from the string and I just did a pointed oval around them and then made a couple jagged lines on either side. Very random. I didn't want it to be super symmetrical because feathers are not really symmetrical. I also did not make them look very realistic because that's not my style. You know me, I'm very cartoonistic. So I'm sticking with that this year. Now I'm going in with this circle ruler, I guess. I got this at an estate sale, so I can't really link it down below, but I'm sure you can find them at any craft store. Going in and sketching the outline of my Dreamcatcher. And filling that in with my gray Tombow. Now taking the felt tip end of my gray Tombow, I'm going in and making the lines of the Dreamcatcher, the inside weaving area. I'm leaving little spaces, as you can tell, for the beads that I'm going to be putting on the strings. I didn't want any of the dark gray to be showing underneath of the gold paint that I'm putting on later in the video. Now I'm going in with my Sharpie fine liner and drawing in all of the strings hanging off of the Dreamcatcher attached to the feathers and to the multiple strings of beads. You can tell in my writing that I'm deliberating here whether I'm going to sketch out the outlines of the feathers or not. I was tempted to leave them with just the color outline, and I think that looks really good, but you know me and my sketchy outlines, so I went ahead and outlined them with that black again. As much as I try to get away from my sketchy outlining, I just can't. I always seem to go back to it. So I'm going to go in with my Tombow gray. Please excuse my messy hair in this shot. But I'm using my ruler and the felt tip of my Tombow gray to outline the banner in which I'm going to put January later. As you can tell here, it doesn't make much of a difference outlining that, so you can keep your choice of either just using the colored marker to make the feathers or outlining it like I do. I think it adds a little bit more pop to the page whenever you outline it with that bold outlining, but it also looks good with just the raw color. I would love to see what y'all create down in the comments below. Going ahead and erasing all of my pencil sketch lines before I get out our next step, which is going to be gold paint. So before I go in with the gold paint, I decided to go in with my Jelly Roll white pen to really clean up those edges so that I can make sure that that gold really pops. This is not necessarily necessary, but it does help to identify where you're going to put the gold. As you can see, I kind of skipped this step on our next page, so you can tell the difference slightly, but not much. I'm going in with the lightest gold shade on my gold colored palette and just making small little beads on either end of the banner as well as inside of the dream catcher and on the strings dangling down. Something you may or may not notice about me and my painting aesthetic is I always start from the right side of the page and go over, and that is because I'm left-handed. So the left-handed lady is struggling with her left-handedness because I do press my hand to the paper when I'm painting, especially it gives me a lot more control. So by starting on the right side of the page, I make sure that I'm not smudging it with my hand lowered to the page. This can work in reverse for you righties as well. Please pardon any whining you hear in the background. My dog really wants me to hold her, and she doesn't quite understand why I can't hold her and film a video. We're going over to the right side and just filling in this very large feather. I'm doing that same whimsical drawing with the very uneven edges of the feather and my Sharpie outline. Then we're going in with our darker Tombow and writing 2021 in the center of the dream catcher. And taking our pencil and marking out where I'm going to write January. As you can see, I started with the U because that's the center, and it makes it really easy to center out where you're going to write the rest of the letters. Using the lightest Tombow, I highlighted it, and then I'm going to define it with that Sharpie pen. Then we are going to do our quote on the page, which is, remember, the distance between dreams and reality is called actions. I'm going to try to remember this in the next year to make what I want for myself come true, not only by wishing and hoping, but by doing. Just adding a little bit of gold to the top and bottom of this quote page because I felt like it needed a little bit of sparkle. Completely unnecessary and probably could have done without, but as you can tell, I'm really in love with this gold paint. And that is our cover page pretty much complete. I'm just going to erase those lines after my gold has dried. And we are going to move on over to our events and our mood trackers. So I'm going to take the Tombow brush pens and highlight every other day in my calendar. I really like the way this looks, and it's really easy to quickly mock up. It's also really easy to follow instead of actually having to write out each of the grid lines. This is the same setup that I've done for the past couple months, and I still really like it, so I'm sticking to it. That first box is going to be in my events page, and this one is going to be my mood tracker. Then I'm going to have small little calendars on the far right side for all of my individual trackers. Doing the same technique with my circle stencil for these dream catchers above. On these dream catchers, I'm doing the exact same thing as the front cover page, except for I'm not going to be adding in any feathers because they're hidden behind the calendar spreads. Just going through and numbering each of the lines according to the days and partnering them with the correct days of the week, just to make it a little bit easier for me to remember what day is what. This layout is super easy and quick to set up. If you took out all of the little doodles and possibly the little mini calendars, it'd probably take you about 5 minutes, and it's my most used spread each month. As much as I love looking at my little doodles and my sketches in the front page, this page I go back to every single night, and it really helps me keep on task. By the time I was done with this 4th Dreamcatcher, my lines may have got a little bit sloppier, but I actually became to really love the style and the way I chose to draw these out. I looked at so many different reference pictures, and so many times I sketched it up and it looked like a bike wheel. And I'm really happy that I came out with this kind of design of like an overlapping pedal look. So now I'm going to go in and add those gold bead accents. Now we're going to go in with some light blue stickers that I have. I tried to find one that matched the color scheme pretty well, and I'm writing in my headers for each of these, so events and moods. Then I'm going in with that darkest blue Tombow and highlighting the top of each of those mini calendars for my trackers, and using a ruler making all of those tiny little grid boxes. Now this is probably the most tedious part of this setup, and it could take you quite a bit of time, but once you get the hang of it and if you lay it out beforehand, it's really not that hard. I'd like to mention that there are stamp sets that you can get that block out these squares for you. I have just not purchased them because I can do it by hand and I really don't mind the work. But there are different ways, like stickers or stamps, that you can go around this and get the same aesthetic. Just now going in and filling out the days of the weeks and the headers of each of the things that I'm going to track. And that's pretty much completing our spread for this month. Super simple. This is what I've been doing for the last couple months, and it's really working for me. Really glad for y'all to see what I've created this month, and I hope everyone has a wonderful new year. Let this one be a little bit better than last year. Thanks for watching, and remember to never stop creating.